3, hit it!
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to today's Caffeine for the Soul. And today I want to talk about the relationship between state of mind and performance. Now, this is an area I've spent a lot of time looking at because one of the things that a lot of people pay me for is to help them perform at their best more of the time. And even before that, I was interested because I wanted to perform at my best more of the time. And I noticed in studying all the different models of high performance, you can divide them almost into two discrete categories. And the first, and there are a whole lot of books and teachings and coaching that say state of mind is irrelevant. You just show up and do your job and it doesn't matter how you feel. And then there's another school, again, lots of different versions of it and lots of different people teach it, that effectively say state of mind is everything. You've got to be in an optimal state of mind to perform at your best. Now, I went back and forth on these and I sort of leaned towards state of mind is everything because I certainly noticed that most of the time when I felt better, I did better. But I also noticed that sometimes I was off in my head, but my performance was immaculate. And other times I felt great, but my performance kind of sucked. And here's what I've seen is the fallacy of the idea that state of mind doesn't matter at all, that the fallacy of irrelevance. And maybe you've got an example for yourself of where you just got really in your head or you were in a really bad mood on a date. And I'm guessing that date did not go great. Or maybe you had a job interview and you got so worked up or you were so distracted that you just totally blew it, even though you might have been really qualified for the job. Most people I talk to can find, if not one of those, at least a few examples of where being in this kind of crappy mood, this crappy state of mind, really did affect their performance. But on the other hand, there's also the fallacy of relevance. There are numerous examples in the annals of sporting history of people who performed out of their skin at a time where most people would just be totally take themselves out of the game and nobody would blame them. One of the first I remember watching was the NFL quarterback Brett Favre was playing a Monday Night Football game may have been the day after his dad died, and he was very close with his dad. And he was, you could see when they interviewed him, you could see he was devastated by it. And yet he went out there and he threw 4 touchdowns, and it was a game that just even talking about it, I still get chills. I remember that game. I was reading about Jim Thorpe, the great American Indian athlete from the early 20th century, who was a track and field star and an Olympic star and became one of the early stars in the National Football League. And in the 1912 Summer Olympics, he went out on the first day and he won 2 gold medals. And between the first day and the second day, somebody stole his shoes. Now, back then, it wasn't like now where people have different shoes for every event. So he had no performance shoes and that nobody had spares. That wasn't the way of things there. And so he found 2 mismatched shoes in the trash. One of them was so big that he had to actually stuff it with extra socks. And, you might think he was pretty upset about it. It was clearly somebody had done it on purpose. But in spite of it, he went out and won 2 gold medals with those mismatched shoes and with all the thinking that must have come with it. And that would seem to say, well, okay, if it's not irrelevant and it's not relevant, what is the relationship between state of mind and performance? Now, you will have answers to that for yourself if you look for yourself. But I want to just share a couple of things that I've noticed. The distinction that seems to make a much bigger difference than how you feel is how self-conscious you are. How much of your attention is taken up with how you feel. So when somebody's really in their head, and in athletics they'll often talk about, he's a bit of a head case. A diva in the arts is often somebody who everything has to be perfect for them to go out and do their best performance. They're hyper-conscious of their own state of mind. They're hyper-conscious, as if being even a little bit off, anything being even a little bit off, will ruin them. And so consequently, they pay more and more attention to their state of mind, to the point where they sometimes can't or won't even perform. Now, you can have all sorts of things going on with you, but some people have learned, and a lot of high performers have learned at a certain point, that the show must go on, that Dr. Theater will get them through the performance, that if they can lose themselves in the moment, it doesn't matter what's going on in their heads, what's going on in their psychology. And so, rather than think in terms of, I need to be in an optimal state of mind, or I don't need to pay any attention at all to my state of mind, just notice, which way are you aiming the flashlight? The flashlight of your attention. And if you're aiming the flashlight at your own thinking, at your own feeling, at your own state of mind, it's going to become a bigger and bigger and bigger deal. And it will have to be good for you to perform at your best. But if you're aiming the flashlight outwards, not as I'm going to just perform anyways, even though this is the worst thing that ever happened to me and I hate my life, but you literally can just take the spotlight off of you and onto whatever it is that you are up to. If you can throw yourself into it, lose yourself in the performance. Those are the performances that take our breath away. Those are the performances as an audience, as an observer, where we're moved. It's part of what moves us about art and sport and high performance in any field. Those are the performances as a performer where if we could live 24/7 in that feeling of that performance, we would. And that is always available. It is available no matter what. It is available when you're in a good mood. It is available when you're in a bad mood. It is available when somebody stole your shoes and people you love are unwell or dying. And it is available when everything is going your way. In any moment, you can turn your attention from yourself. You can unself-conscious yourself, put your conscious attention onto the task at hand. Lose yourself in whatever it is that you're doing, and you will experience flow, and you will thrive, and you will perform as best you are able to perform, given your skills and abilities and everything else that you've got going for you. So something to experiment with, something to notice. You can kind of think back on past performance and see if you can see the relationship between self-consciousness and performance. But also something to play with in the moment, the next time you are in a performance situation. Notice where your attention is. And if it's too much on you and how you're doing, see what happens when you take the attention off yourself and put it on to the task at hand. Have fun, learn heaps, happy exploring, and I'll talk with you soon.